I'm Joyce with Johnson Plastics Plus. I'm here today to introduce you to the Roland BY20 direct-to-film printer. Direct-to-film is also known as DTF. So what is DTF? It's printing onto a thin, transparent film that then has adhesive powder applied to it that's then cured with using heat. It's then pressed onto any fabric substrate. So today I'm going to take you through that whole process from printing to pressing and show you some samples that we've made along the way. Right now I'm going to take you through the actual body of the printer and show you some of the very cool features that Roland has added. So let's start in this box. This is where your inks load in at. They come in these cartridges. They're very simple to store and replace. You simply pull them out and replace. Just below that, you actually have a storage bin that allows you to store extra inks or extra consumables you might need, such as cleaner and cleaning swabs. This is a front load printer, so all you have to do to load the paper is set your reel here, pull it up and through the machine. You can bring it in and set the lever like that, and now your paper is ready to go in your printer. This panel has your print head behind it. So for maintenance, this print head will move all the way to the far left of the machine, and you'll be able to access and clean your top station here. You get one more storage compartment down here. You also have a waste tank that is easy to remove and clean out as well as replace. And let's talk about some maintenance that you have to do with the BY20. The great thing with Roland's printers on the Versa Studio series is that all of the maintenance is prompted in the software. So it'll tell you that you'll have to do manual cleanings, time for ink circulation. It'll also tell you when your ink is running out or your film is running low. So just pay attention in the software. It also gives you all of the guidelines that you need in order to do any of the cleanings. I talked a little bit earlier about having cleaning swabs and cleaning solution on hand. You will definitely need those to do manual cleanings. Keep an eye out for those on our website. If you do happen to run into any issues or questions about one of the printers that you've purchased from Johnson Plastics Plus, go ahead and reach out to the customer success team. We're here to answer questions and help you with troubleshooting. So one of the things I want to point out is that DTF allows you to print onto any color backgrounds. For example, this is black. You can see how bright and vibrant those greens and browns are. And it's because there's a white layer of ink behind it that allows you to get the best color out of your prints. You also are not bound by your substrate being polyester. You can go ahead and print on anything. For example, this is actually linen. So you can go ahead and apply your transfers to something like linen or canvas, something like spandex, which can be really hard to press onto. The only size constraint that you have with a DTF transfer is going to be the width of your printable area coming off this machine. This one is about 18.5 inches. And also, how wide is your heat press? Because you do want to apply all of the pressure and heat in one press. Now that you know a little bit about DTF, let's go ahead and make a print so you can see it in real time. Now we're ready to set our transfer up in the software. So to do that, I'm going to do a couple different things. I'm going to start by making sure that I'm ready for output possible in the BY utility. This is found under DG Connect, where you can see your unit, your BY20 here, and then you can open your BY utility. I can see my ink levels as well as what my heater settings are at. I can move paper, I can set up sheet cutting, all of those different items here. There's an alert button here. If I had any notifications about needing a manual cleaning or needing to replace anything, I would actually get that notification here. So now that I know my output is possible, it's time to set up my artwork. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. Today I'm using Flexi Designer. It's a software that comes with the BY20. And to set up my artwork, all I have to do is import it. Go ahead and import it from my flash drive here. Place it on my design space. I can now see the size it was brought in at, which is 7.64 by 8.92. If I wanted to go ahead and increase that size, I could do that here. It's going to go ahead and make it just a little bit larger. Now, the only thing I need to do to add it for DTF is I need to add a white layer behind this. That way then these colors really pop and it gives that adhesive powder something to stick to. So all I have to do is select my artwork here, make sure there's a red box around it. I'm going to come over to Effects. I'm going to add an underbase. There are two options. I could add a solid underbase, which is going to put a solid white layer behind all of my artwork, or I could do a variable underbase, where the program's going to calculate how much white needs to be in different spaces based on the tonals on the screen. In this instance, because this artwork has all of these tiny little flecks around it and very fine lines here in the manes of the horses, I'm going to go with a solid underbase to give me the most color. When I click solid underbase, you're going to see this design central box here is going to change. And now you're going to see that it says RDG white with holes. Then if we zoom in here on the artwork, I'm going to zoom in one more time, you're going to see a faint gray line that's kind of running through this artwork here. And that represents where you're going to have white at. And see how it's got holes here where the horse's legs are at. If I turn off with holes, and that gray line moves out here. So I want to go ahead and have that gray line engaged here on the inside, so I'm not wasting white or having white solidly behind the horses in the design. So I'm going to zoom back out here. I can actually choke my white in this program, and what that means is if I set my white at 0, you're going to see that faint gray line is actually now on the outside of this text here, and it's on the outside of some of the areas of the horse. So if I choke it by changing that to 0.20, it's actually going to go internal, and I'm going to have a faint line where there's not going to be any white around the outside of the horses or the inside or the outside of the text. So I can alter that based totally on what I want to do with this artwork, what color shirt I'm putting it on. If I'm putting it on a dark substrate, I definitely want to try and choke that white. However, if this is going on a white shirt, it won't affect it as much. All I have to do is hit the green check mark. Now my white layer is being added to my artwork. You're going to see the spin for a second here, why it does that. The larger your artwork, the longer that's going to take. And how I can check and verify that my white has been added behind is if I grab this artwork and move it, you can now see that red outline of your artwork versus the square that was around it before. So that tells me everywhere that that white layer has been added. So now my artwork is ready to export. All I'm going to do is zoom out here for a moment so that I can add a box around it. So I'm going to click my rectangle tool. I'm going to just add a box so I capture the accurate size of what I want my shirt to be. All I have to do is wireframe that and turn that box white. And then I'm going to grab my selection tool here. Zoom in just a little bit so I can make sure I'm getting all these little extra pieces. There we go. Now I have the accurate size of what my design actually is going to be, and that way then I can make sure it's going to fit on the top, on the face of my shirt. So if, for example, if you were doing this on a kid's shirt, you definitely would want to scale it down versus an adult's. Now I'm ready to export. So all I have to do is grab all of that, select it, come up to File, hit Export. It's going to turn it into a PDF. I do need to give it a name.
Essence.
I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. You'll see a blue line here on the bottom where it's saying Exporting PDF. Now that it's exported, I can open up VersaWorks and I can go ahead and add it here into my queue. I can see the name of my printer. It's ready to print, and I'm going to add that to queue B. Now I just have to grab my PDF. It's imported into my print queue. All I still need to do is open it up by double clicking right on that. I can see my artwork here. I can also see the dimensions that it came in at. So it came in at 10.32 by 12.04. So I know that's the size I've got. If I wanted to scale it up or down, this is a great place to do so. For example, if I was putting it on a kid's shirt and wanted it to be a 5-inch width, I would just go ahead and scale it down. Or I can also scale it by percent. I'm going to get the actual media width since mine is not quite 18.9, it's actually 18.27. That gives me an accurate read of my media width. I also want to center my design on the media. That way then I have a little bit extra to grab for when I'm taking it through the adhesive powder. I can rotate it and change the orientation based on how many or what I'm trying to achieve. In this case, I'm just going to try and keep it to the minimum printing size. All right, the next thing I do need to do is come over here to quality, click on quality. I am going on the generic film dark, and I do need to set my mode to include white. So CMYK white, now you can see the pink hash lines that have appeared wherever that white ink is going to be at. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to printer controls, and I'm going to tell it to cut the sheet after output, but instead of a sheet cut, which is a solid quick cut that will come loose from the main roll, I'm going to actually tell it to perf cut. This will give me little tiny connection points to the main roll of material, and that way then I don't have to rush over and grab it before it hits the floor. I have time to walk over and gently pull it off while maybe I'm printing another job. All right, it's ready to print, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And then all I have to do is go ahead and tell it to print. I just want one of these right now, so then all I have to do is say print, and now my print job moves up into the queue. There is another method for adding white behind a design. So if I wanted to just add white and not use Flexi Designer to do so, I actually can. And what I'm going to do is import this exact same job, but I'm not going to add a white layer in it in Flexi. So all I have to do is come over to QB. I'm going to go get my job. All right, open it. I can tell this does not have any white added because under special items, there's no WH to reference that I've added white in another program. So all I have to do is double click it. You can see the job here. I'm going to change my size in here. So I'm going to make it 10.25, or actually 10.32, I think was the other one. There we go, 10.32. Now it's the same size. I'll go ahead and center it on the media. I can get my media width. And then I'm going to come over to quality, and I'm going to still tell it that I want to do the CMYK white, because I still need to add white behind this. But because I haven't programmed it in Flexi, I have to tell it to do it in VersaWorks. In order to do that, I come down to special color, click on that. My special color is going to be white, and I'm going to tell it to generate the special color palette. Now, right now, I have it generating the pattern only in the print area, and you can see that pink hash line that's come all the way across the text as well as the design. If I wanted to change that and have it do the entire image and have a white box around my horses, I could do that as well. In this case, I'm going to stick to that print area, and I'm going to let it do the design this way. The last thing I'm going to do is go to print controls, and I'm going to tell it to do the perf cut. That way I can also pull this off of the main sheet whenever I'm ready to actually use it. All right, so this one's set to go, and I can go ahead and say OK, and then send this one to print as well. All right, let's go ahead and check out those transfers when they come off the printer. Now that I have my transfer printed, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a few things you need to actually finish your RDTF print. So to start with, I need a substrate. In this case, I'm using a black t-shirt that I went ahead and grabbed. I also grabbed a T-seal sheet so that my press is going to be matte when I'm finished with it on my shirt. I also grabbed a Teflon sheet to protect my heat platen from any extra adhesive or ink. I grabbed my adhesive powder and a container so that when I shake the extra adhesive powder off my transfer, it doesn't go everywhere. So let's start. I trimmed this down already to size. I'm going to go ahead and put it right here in my container. Take my little scoop, put a couple scoops of powder on it. Just grab the edges, and I'm gonna just shake it till I have a nice line of powder going back and forth, and I'm going to coat all of that image. Make sure it coats the ink completely. Then I'm going to just go ahead and shake off that extra powder. Now you can see I have a nice light layer of adhesive powder across my entire transfer, and I'm going to go ahead and move it to the heat press. Now that I have my adhesive powder on my transfer, let's take a moment to talk about heat presses, shakers, and ovens. So you can actually cook this adhesive using multiple different methods. For example, you can use a shaker oven combo. Those are available at jpplus.com. Today, I'm going to actually be using a heat press. So this is a pretty straightforward method. I am actually going to hover, not press, hover my heat press over my transfer. It's about 1/4 of an inch between my transfer and the top of that platen. I'm also using a fume extractor here. This guy's also available at jpplus.com to pull out any toxic fumes that might be coming from my adhesive. There's a lot of different adhesive powders on the market right now. Go ahead and just follow the manufacturer instructions for whatever powder you're using. So for example, this one, I'm cooking this at 320 degrees for 4.5 minutes. So all I have to do is put it here in the center, go ahead and close my heat press so that it's just hovering over my transfer, and let it cure. All right.
I'm Joseph.
Okay, this transfer is fully cooked. You can see there's a shiny kind of rubberized texture that's here on the back of the transfer. It's not coming off, it feels ready to go. So let's go ahead and put this on a shirt. Now that I've got my transfer fully ready to go, adhesive is on the back. I have my Teflon sheet to protect my heat platen for when I go to press. I'm gonna go ahead and get it set up on my shirt. I've already put my shirt here on my platen. I've pre-pressed it a little bit to get the humidity out of it. I'm gonna center my transfer where I want it on my shirt. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and put my Teflon sheet on to protect my platen. I am pressing this at 320 degrees for 30 seconds. It is time for us to take it off of the platen here. Now, this does need to fully cool. You want to cold peel this. So we want to let it cool here, and then we'll come back and we'll peel it. Okay, now that we're ready to peel, we're going to start at one corner, kind of roll our paper over. You can watch as it just kind of nicely releases. You want to take your time anywhere you've got kind of these extra little pieces and flecks. Give it a second to release. There we go. So now that you can see, our transfer is still kind of shiny. It's got a little bit of a gloss finish to it. We're going to actually take this to a matte state by using the T-Seal. T-Seal is available at jpplus.com. This has a almost like rubberized side here, where we'll help kind of push that design further into the shirt, as well as make it matte. So I'll take the shine off of it. So all we're gonna do is go ahead and press that for 15 to 30 seconds. And you can go ahead and peel this T-Seal off while it's still hot. Now you can see how much less shiny the design is. It's nice and pushed right into the material of the shirt, and it's more of a matte finish. Thanks for joining me today for my walkthrough of the Roland BY20. If you're interested in DTF or any of the items I used today, they're available on the jpplus.com website. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to customer success. Thanks for watching.